Please subscribe Raj Shamani Clips channel if you want to become a better leader for tomorrow and achieve your Indian dream in short amount of time with just small clips. Let's go dive into Airbnb business because I am, I'll give you two reasons why I'm interested in it. One, I'm a big fan of Airbnb. Every time I travel abroad a lot.
Thank you.
I started traveling when I was 17.
Awesome.
And I have been around the world in 30, 40 countries. And I think in 95% of them, I stay in Airbnbs.
Awesome.
Right?
We just need to get the next 5%, the last one also. But would love to know what attracts you towards Airbnb.
So to me, in the beginning, it was fancy places.
Fancy. Unique places.
Unique places. To me, that was like first. I think for the first, from 17 to 20, for 3 years, it was the price.
Yeah. Okay.
Because
affordability.
It was affordability because I would remember the first years, when you start traveling, you go to major cities. Like I went to New York, I went to Vienna.
Yeah.
Right? These are cities which are expensive as hell.
True.
So in New York, I know even a decent hotel would cost me way more than Airbnb.
Sure.
So that's why I booked an Airbnb. And in the beginning, I remember I stayed with a family which had 3 rooms and I took 1 room from them. Like it was like a shared.
The core model of Airbnb.
The core model of Airbnb, right? And then they gave me my only bad review is their review.
Okay. What did you do?
So they gave me I'm from India. I didn't know that you're not. This was my first trip to US.
Yeah.
I didn't know that you're not supposed to play music at night.
Oh, okay.
I was playing and I was jet lagged. I'm playing music in the middle of the night and trying to work. Yeah. And I was like a 19, I guess.
Yeah.
So 19-year-old me in an apartment in New York. It's damn silent.
Yeah.
This is winters.
Okay.
और मैं बढ़िया laptop पे गाने सुन रहा, right? So then they just put it off. ठीक है.
You learned.
Learned it hard way, right? Then, so this was the first 3 years.
Sure.
Then I got used to it. So I was like, okay, let me do this. Then I started finding like cuter places, better places, well done, more
places
like,
with character,
right? Like it has more fun. Then it became, I can have friends over. Like in hotels and like there's so many restrictions and things, right? When you are going, so I used to go every time to some kind of conference. So this is what I do. Every year, I go to one conference around the world.
Okay.
And I treat that conference learning experience as my vacation. So I only take one.
Great.
So when you're in a conference where there are 500 people, you tend to meet like 10, 12 people and you want them over. So I'm like, okay, let me take an Airbnb.
Yeah.
So it started like that, right?
Nice.
And now it has become, I book those experiences through Airbnb.
Awesome. Yeah.
So I remember last time I went to New York, I took a photo walk.
Okay.
So this was like, okay, every time I come to New York, I'm alone. Yeah. I don't know who to take pictures.
Sure.
Like there was an option, ki photo walk kar lo. And I remember it was like $60.
Yeah.
Like 4,000
But you go to the
rupees.
iconic places in New York.
4,000.
Yeah.
वही तुम्हें जो photographer है, वही तुम्हें हर जगह लेके जाएगा.
I know.
वो तुम्हें Brooklyn Bridge दिखाएगा, वो तुम्हें streets पे लेके जाएगा, वो तुम्हें Soho लेके जाएगा. He knows spots and they'll click your picture. And I use these pictures even today.
And that's awesome, right? Yeah.
So these become like reason. And just this month, from 4th to 14th, I was in Colombia, Cartagena.
Wow.
And I stayed in middle of the town in an Airbnb, which had a panoramic view in the city.
That's awesome.
So I'm like a huge Airbnb buff.
Awesome.
And not only around the world, I've stayed there, like stayed in Airbnb in India as well.
Yeah. Awesome.
Like a lot of it, right?
So you know the genesis of Airbnb, how did it start? So because you talked about conference and you going on a conference, right? So let me just zoom out, give you a very short version of how Airbnb started. So in 2007, Joe and Brian, they're friends. They went to the same design school, so RISD, right? And they're staying together and they're trying to figure out what to do with their lives and, kind of figure out the next thing that they want to work on. And their landlord increases the rent, right? So suddenly these guys are unemployed. They cannot make the rent. And so they have to come up with an idea to pay the rent. So Joe comes up with the idea that, okay, they have khali space in the house. And what if they bring some air beds, inflate them, and start renting those out to people coming into the city? As luck would have it, there was a design conference in San Francisco at that point of time. And the entire hotel, inventory was sold out. So there was no space for people to come and stay. So they thought it's a good opportunity. People still coming to the city. They want a place to stay. And we should give them a tour of the city in our way. We are locals here, right? And stuff like that. So they ended up putting 3 air beds in the middle of their living room. And they put a small website out and said, you can come and stay with us. You pay this and we'll take you around and stuff like that. 3 people ended up signing for that offer, right? Two of them, were from the US, and there was this one Indian guy, Amol, from Maharashtra, who was visiting the design conference, and he decided to stay with them. These first 3 guests was the start of Airbnb. So India has been associated with the genesis of Airbnb when the design conference was happening, right? And because they inflated air beds, and they also said, we'll take people around, it became air bed and breakfast, and which became Airbnb, right? So what started there in 2007 is now in over 220 plus countries and regions, right? And millions of listings and hosts.
220 countries.
220 countries and regions, yes.
They are in more countries than UN.
And I know you've spoken at the UN Assembly, right? But yeah, so that's how it started, right? And a need first that, people would look for spaces, be a creative idea to kind of say, why can't we do this? And more importantly, when I look back at that snippet, they had put some videos out there, right? At that time, they would not even know that, what are they building? The only thing that comes out of this is, yes, people had a great time staying with them, but what they remember the most is how Brian and Joe treated them, how they took them to the city, how they showed the best places, how Amol, an Indian guest, was able to see San Francisco from the lens of a local, which transformed his entire travel experience. And today, if you look at Airbnb, it's one thing is all about the unique places that you go and stay, like you talked about, right? And we are the world's largest discoverable engine in terms of unique places. And we make it easier for people to kind of now explore and discover these places through our product inventions like categories, etc. But at the core of it is the people-powered hospitality, right? The people-to-people connection. And I think we've always said this that the magic is in the people. So you will always remember your trip based on the people you met, right? Based on the experiences you've had. And I think that is where Airbnb becomes a very, very important kind of a platform, because it fosters connection.
Yeah.
And especially in today's time when people are kind of drifting apart, getting people together, connection is very important. And I think that for me was a very, very powerful story.
Thank you for watching this till the end. If you want to become a better leader for tomorrow, then subscribe our channel for more such clips.